Okay. Yesterday I talked about Winnipeg and Arizona, and I thought, you know what? It's fun having two logos on the board and looking over before and after a move. And what better than Minnesota and Dallas? After I did a video this morning that talked about the Minnesota North Stars going to the Stanley Cup Final. So Minnesota remarkably consistent in net, and this was during some bad, dark times for Minnesota. Dallas pretty consistent as well. I would say that of the two, I was more impressed by the goaltending with the North Stars than I've been with them in Dallas. But I will say they stick with a goaltender, which bodes well for Ben Bishop. 67-68, so the expansion year that we go back to, they had Maniago and Bauman. 68-69, Cesar Maniago plays 64 games. Maniago, really the face of the North Stars in the 60s and 70s. 69-70, he plays 50 games. He's the only one to reach 20. You have to play 20 games to get on the board. 70-71, it's Maniago and Gump Worsley. Worsley coming in as the backup allows them to rest Maniago. Worsley's numbers in Minnesota were excellent. 71-72, Maniago is again backed up by Worsley. 72-73, Gilles Gilbert plays as backup to Cesar Maniago. 73-74, Gump Worsley is the backup to Maniago. So Worsley played very few games in 72-73. He's back having played 20 plus in 73-74. 74-75, it's Maniago and Pete Lepresti. They were impressed with him, and they kept him around to back up Maniago again in 75-76. 76-77, Maniago leaves. Lepresti's your starter. Gary Suitcase Smith is the backup. So Maniago goes to the Canucks, and Smith comes over from Minnesota. Lepresti's your starter in 77-78. Paul Harrison is your backup now. 78-79, after the merger. So the North Stars are merged with Cleveland, and in that merger, the biggest benefit was Joe Meloche becomes their starting goaltender, and Gary Edwards is the backup. So they have that as their tandem for 78-79. 79-80, it's Meloche and Edwards again. So 2 years in a row of the same guys. 80-81, Meloche is the backup to Beaupre the year that Minnesota goes to the Stanley Cup Final. 81-82, Meloche is the starter, Beaupre the backup. Same with 82-83, 83-84, 84-85, Meloche and Beaupre. Rolly the goalie, Rolly Melanson, plays 20 games that year as well. So 3 goalies that year. 85-86, Beaupre and Casey. So John Casey gets into the picture, and he was a solid player right off the bat. And Don Beaupre is a guy who I honestly think was a better goaltender than he's remembered as. I don't hear very many Beaupre dedication nights or anything like that. You know, if they still played as the Minnesota North Stars, if not for the move to Dallas, I wonder if Beaupre is a guy who would have had a big night for him, because he was their starter for a while. 86-87, it's Beaupre and Kerry Taco as the backup. Kerry Taco would back up Beaupre again in 87-88. 87-88 is when Beaupre finished up his time as a member of the Minnesota North Stars. And then Casey and Taco become your goalies in 88-89 and 89-90. So Kerry Taco, the backup goaltender for Minnesota for 4 years. Taco was your standard backup goaltender. He wasn't spectacular, but he was good. And one of the greatest names in the history of hockey. Absolutely, bar none. I was very impressed, and I was very upset when he left, but not for long. Casey and Brian Hayward are your goaltenders in 90-91. Expansion then happens, which means San Jose takes a bunch of players from the Minnesota organization. And what we end up with in 91-92 is Casey and Darcy Wakaluk. Wakaluk, again, almost as amazing a name as Taco. I don't have a favorite of the two, but Darcy Wakaluk, I always wanted him to be an all-star because just an amazing name. 92-93, they're the goaltenders again. The team then moves to Dallas. In the move to Dallas, they lose John Casey. John Casey ends up not being their goaltender anymore. He ends up in Boston. From Boston, they get Andy Moog. So Moog is the goaltender. And goaltenders seem to move between my favorite teams more than any other position in hockey. Moog and Wakaluk are the goalies in 93-94, and they are in 94-95 and 95-96. That consistency, that level of consistency in Minnesota and Dallas is impressive. Even if they haven't had a bunch of Vezina winners, it's impressive that your goaltending it's the same guys behind you. 96, 97, Moog and Irbe are the goaltenders. So that's the 1 year that Artur Irbe was a Dallas Star, and he played well. He just never lasted anywhere for some reason until he got to Carolina. 97, 98, Belfour and Turek. So Roman Turek came up, and man, I was scared when he left that he was going to be this massive star. 98, 99, Belfour, Turek again, and after that, Turek moves on to Calgary, and I was terrified that he was going to be a big star goaltender, and it didn't quite work out that way, did it? He played well, but he was never really quite what I was terrified they were losing to keep Belfour, who at the time I thought was getting kind of old. 99, 2000, Belfour and Manny Fernandez. So that's the only time Emmanuel Fernandez shows up on here for Dallas. He would move on to Boston again. Goaltenders tend to move between my favorite teams. 2000, 2001, it's Belfour and Turco. So Marty Turco comes up, and again, I was scared as a Dallas fan at the time that we'd gone from Turek, who moved on to be a star somewhere else, and that Turco could do the same. 2001, 2002, that's Belfour and Turco. Belfour moves on, and Turco's your starter, with Tugnut playing backup in 2002, 2003. 03, 04, Turco plays 73 games. Tugnut's still there, but he only plays 11, so I can't put him on the board because he only played 11 games. 05, 06, so this is after the lockout wiped out season. 68 games for Turco, so he plays 141 games in 2 years. To which Marty Brodeur goes, yeah, big deal. Get to New Jersey and talk about me. I will. 2006, 2007, Turco and Smith are your goalies. Turco and Smith in 07, 08, and Smith gets moved out. And again, I'm always scared that a Minnesota/Dallas backup, when they move on, it's going to bite us in the ass. And it never really did. Never really did, but I was always scared of it because I was always respectful of the backup goaltenders in Minnesota and Dallas. 2008, 2009, Turco plays 74 games. So Minnesota and Dallas not afraid to work goaltenders a lot if they're that kind of goaltender. 2009, 2010, Turco and Alex Auld. So when you look for guys who've played on all three of my favorite teams, goaltenders are usually where you're looking. Auld backs him up that year, and then both of them are gone the next year when the Dallas Stars brought in Kari Lehtinen. Lehtinen came in towards the end of 09-10, so he doesn't get on the board for that season, but he played 69 games in 2010-2011, so nobody else got on there for them. Lehtinen played 59 games in 2011-2012. Again, nobody else played 20. During the lockout-shortened season of 12-13, he played 36 games. Bachman played 13, but I don't know that Bachman would have played 20 over a full 82-game schedule. 2013-14, Lehtinen plays 65 games, the same total he put up in 14-15 as well. Kari Lehtinen was one of those goalies that, again, good, not always, a guy that I was happy with, and he played a lot of hockey. And there were times in the playoffs where he didn't look very good, and I thought, geez, maybe he needs more rest. So thinking the same thing, Jim Nill goes out in the summer of 2015 and adds Antti Niemi. And this was just not meant to work. But 15-16, Niemi's the guy who plays more games, Lehtinen's the backup. And, of course, they made the playoffs and then switched off goalies regularly. 16-17, Lehtinen's the starter, Niemi's the backup. And this past season, Bishop came in and played starter minutes, while Lehtinen played the backup role. And again, Lehtinen played decently as the backup. At this stage where I'm making this video, he doesn't have a tryout that I've seen. He doesn't have any kind of contract. So we'll see if that was the end of the line for him. Tandems, Maniago and Worsley for 3 years. Meloche and Beaupre for 4 years. In Dallas, Moog and Wakaluk for 3. There weren't a lot of tandems that lasted in Dallas because they tend to work their goaltenders a lot. Maniago played nine years in Minnesota. Gump Worsley had 3. Lepresti 4. Meloche 7. Beaupre 8. Casey 6. Taco 4. And Wakaluk, 2 of his 3 years were in Dallas. 1 was in... No. 2... he had 2 in Minnesota and 3 in Dallas. I'm looking at 2 out of 3. It's 2 and then 3. Can't even read my own board. Imagine that. So 5 years for Wakaluk altogether. 2 in Minnesota, 3 in Dallas. And again, he didn't come back to bite us after he left. Moog played 4 years in Dallas. 5 years in Dallas for Belfour. 9 for Turco. And Lehtinen had 8. So Turco is your leader on the board. Again, you had to have played a minimum of 20 games to get into here. So that's only counting seasons where goaltenders played 20 or more games. Goalies altogether, Minnesota had 15. Dallas had 13, and that includes one carryover, which is Darcy Wakaluk, and that's 27 overall in 50 years of hockey. Since 2009. So while I talked about Montreal a couple days ago and how solid and stable Montreal was, you know what? Minnesota or Dallas, no matter what way you look at it, pretty stable, pretty solid goaltending. If unspectacular at times, solid and stable. And I'm grateful for the years of service that Lettinen gave the team. And, you know, Dallas just hasn't been good enough to win a Stanley Cup outside of the year they won it in 99 and the year they almost won it in 2000 and narrowly got edged out by New Jersey. Other than that, it's been, it's been interesting. But there you go. The entire history of Minnesota and Dallas's goaltending. It's, of course, Minnesota North Stars, so for Minnesota Wild fans, absolutely we'll be talking about the Minnesota Wild, but it's not the same. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And this has been the goaltending history of the Minnesota North Stars and the Dallas Stars. I'll talk to you again soon.